Hello, hello. Just going to give it a couple minutes for everybody to join in today again. Hello, hello. Just giving everybody a couple minutes to join me here. If you are joining me, thank you. I hope you're having a good day. Just want to see if I'm live on the pages here. There I am. Perfect. Well, thank you. It's almost 3. So we're going to get going here pretty soon. I'm logging in a couple minutes early. It takes a bit of time for Life Pro's talent team on the back end to make all the things work together. So we're coming at you on the VIP page, the main page, YouTube, sometimes Amazon. I see I've got a few more folks here now, so it looks like we are running okay. I would love it if somebody could, oh, there's my volume. If someone could let me know if they see and hear me okay on that end before I get rambling away here. Today is about using your vibration plate for moving lymph. It's a very common question. It's a very common reason many of you are looking towards the plate as a tool at home. There's lots of things that you can do on a vibration plate. Anything that you've probably heard or seen is true to a degree. Hello, Janine. I hope I'm saying that right. Thank you. She's saying all is good. If you are joining me today, awesome, Judy. Thank you for joining me. Nice to see you. If you are joining me today and you are just curious about lymph, that's awesome. There's a lot of really easy ways to gain benefit using a vibration plate. If you're dealing with something more definitive, perhaps you're dealing with lymphedema, lipedema. Many of you are a member of my fat disorders group, which is all about moving lymph. But there's lots of different reasons that you may, at some point in your life, be looking at increasing your lymphatic movement. Lymph, it plays into every system of our body. And if it's not functioning properly, there's lots of things that can start to cause issues short and long term. If you're dealing with something chronic, lymphedema, lipedema, you've got something going on with your immune system, there's all kinds of ways that this will link into today's session. Today, we are primarily focusing on those of you that suffer with chronic issues. Maybe you've got some chronic fatigue, pain, swelling, and exercise and being active regularly just isn't necessarily an option for you. And maybe that's the reason that you looked at the vibration plate. So a vibration plate, of course, can be an activity. It can be a form of exercise. I know that you can all hear me. What I would like to do towards the end of today's session in questions is invite you to share perhaps some successes you've had using your vibration plate, or maybe you've got some fears that are holding you back from using it. So if you're still fearful or you're wondering if it's appropriate for you based on something you might be dealing with, I'll get to questions, but hopefully my discussion today will ease some fears and offer some insight to let you know that pretty much anybody can benefit from using a vibration machine. Why we struggle with what to do on it is many of us aren't coming from an active place, or if you're not working with a physical therapist or a trainer, sometimes we wonder, what are the moves we need to do to accomplish certain benefits? Well, the beauty of a vibration plate for today's topic is it's probably the easiest benefit anyone can gain using a vibration machine, whether you have the ability to stand on your own 2 feet, whether you are bedridden, whether you're maybe just able to sit and expose your lower extremities to the machine. With lymphatic movement, I'm going to tell you a big secret, and if you've watched any of my sessions in the past, it's not so much of a secret. When we move, lymph moves. And what does a vibration plate do? It moves you very easily without any effort on your part in many cases. So if your only goal is to get the lymphatic system stimulated and moving is how we move lymph. A vibration plate is just an environment that makes moving easier and less impactful on your body than other traditional activities. So if you are already using a vibration plate for anything, you're already gaining from the benefit of activated lymph, because whatever the exercises or positions it is that you're doing are being enhanced and boosted by all those little micro movements that you're being exposed to while you're on the plate. So you don't have to do anything special to activate lymph. It's always occurring more so on a vibration plate than any other form of activity. So, but maybe the goal is just lymph, and I'm unable to be active. I said today we're talking primarily about chronic symptoms. And for those of you that are maybe unable to bear weight, if you have not seen one of my seated sessions, where have you been? I've done many of these, but today specifically for lymph, one of the few changes I want to talk about is to your settings. There's some of the research out there, and many people that instruct you on how to use vibration plates out there lean on research and don't always have the frontline experience that some of us trainers do. On the slow speeds, we're using oscillating movement today. I always use oscillating in all of my sessions. It's the primary movement. It is especially beneficial for today's topic, which is lymph, because oscillating has the ability to move you the most, but it's also very controllable by you as far as intensity. So wide is more movement. If you're looking at your Life Pro plate, that's the jog position. Instinctively, we want to go wide because we think we want to get the most movement, like a rebounder, to get that lymph moving. But the reality is, it's a tolerance thing. I personally, especially if you're dealing with chronic issues, which is what we're talking about today, I prefer your feet or the intensity be more conservative. So bring your feet closer to the center. To make up for that, I prefer to use a mid to higher speed. More movements per second versus more actual movement is actually going to open and churn those lymph vessels more effectively. And if you're dealing with secondary issues like pain, swelling, neuropathy, there's a whole list of symptoms out there you're dealing with. More movements with less amount of movement is generally more comfortable and more tolerable by most users. So right now I've rambled away for about 2.5 minutes, but while I'm doing this, my feet are positioned about hip width apart. I am at a mid speed on my Rumblex right now. I am shaking away at about 35 is my speed. And I'm feeling it primarily in the calves, the feet. I've done all kinds of sessions in the past. The more you can move, the more lymph you're going to move. So instead of just sitting here, maybe you want to do some little foot pumps, come up on the toes, lift the, or come up on the toes, then lift the toes. Do little movements. Perhaps you're moving some legs. There's all kinds of things that you can do. If you are doing self-massage right now, or dry brushing, or you're doing other things to increase your lymphatic movement, and you want to save time, because self-care, sometimes it sucks and it takes a long time, especially if you're dealing with a chronic concern. By using your vibration plate kind of as the base, you can add other things like perhaps a massage gun. If you've been using a massage gun in the past, same as the vibration machine, I recommend less pressure, less intensity, and a faster speed. And if you want to work the lymphatic vessels, you're just skimming the surface of the skin. So if you want to combine tools, you can ramp up the effects of both of them by using them together to save you time. My favorite way to add additional lymph to the equation is by adding red light. So I'm going to do that now. I've relocated my panel on the floor. I'm going to start it right now. You'll notice I've got a table here. Well, I did that on purpose today is to not blind myself while I'm doing my shaking here. So if you spend a lot of time sitting, you've got these kind of tools at home now, while you're doing your vibration plate, have the red light, especially if you're dealing with issues on the lower extremities. The panels are a really nice way to use red light and get exposure to them without having to physically strap something onto your body. I love the belts. I love some of the other tools, but to me, they're more of a specific purpose kind of tool. If you're just looking for general whole body lymphatic, and guess what? When you're dealing with lymphatic issues, especially if you've got blockages, you want to pay attention to whole body because it flows through your whole body. If you've got deficiencies or you've got compromised vessels in one area, the rest of the body's got to help move that along and facilitate the movement that you're creating. So outside of keeping it easy, what I will caution you if you are dealing with extreme issues is to keep it moderate also and conservative on your times. So start out like 2 to 3 minutes. See how you feel. If you're dealing with a sluggish lymphatic system, you don't want to create too much movement too quick. You may create pooling elsewhere. For those of you that have overdone it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you are doing, if your issues are more upper body and you want to get a little bit more targeted in the upper body, I've shown you this in the past as well. I'm not going to do a whole lot of explaining, but you can lock your arms and add the palms of your hands to your knees, or take your elbows and lean over, and you're going to get more into the upper body, the mid back, the neck, and just play around with your angles. Move around. What feels good to you? If you've got an area that's been compromised, what you're trying to target. And I find it, because unlike our blood where our circulation is running all the time, the rate of circulation can be manipulated through exercise, through movement, but your lymph only moves when you move. So I would suggest, especially if you're really bunged up, if you will, and the lymph is really poor, do it more frequently, more like 2 to 3, 5 sessions a day, but keep your sessions 2 to 3 minutes. See how you feel. You can always do more later. While you're using the plate, it feels really, really good while you're using it. So it's easy to overdo. And a lot of you think, well, there's a 10, 15 minute preset. I'm just sitting here. What's the harm? You can easily overdo it and not give this machine enough credit for the amount of volume that it has in moving. So I want to just do a couple of variations today. I've got me a little table here. Many of you work at home or work at a desk or work at a kitchen counter while you're making your dinner. So this is just a bar height table, and many of you looking for lymphatic flow issues, there's kind of this area in our hips and in the groin where there's a junction, and there's also a big collection of lymph nodes in these areas. Plus, many of you happen to be dealing with back pain, back aches, hip pain. So a lot of the exercises that I've shown you to relieve, muscle tension are just as good because the machine is doing the lymph work. So do positions that, have other benefit for you. I wanted to show you this variation today. I've done this many times without a table, just sort of leaning over. My knees are just undone. You may not be able to tell in my jumpsuit. And this is by just leaning over and standing fairly tall with the legs. The movement is now situated more in the back, the hips. You could add some pelvic tilts. You can move your hips around a little bit. Again, the more you move, the more lymph's going to move. If you wanted to do some exercises and you're trying to regain or build strength and you've only maybe been standing for short periods, try moving ever so slightly. Really slow down, even if you're only moving an inch or two. A little bit of movement forces the muscles to engage, just adds to the equation of moving that lymph more. If the calves are an area of concern, maybe we come up on the calves, up on the toes, and do some little baby calf raises. The table is a nice way to give you some stability if you are dealing with fatigue, poor mobility. There was a question in my group this morning about the machines with handles. Well, if you have bad balance, it's easy to assume that you should have a machine with handles. I'm getting off on a tangent, but very quickly balance and stability improves. It's kind of the first thing that improves besides lymph. So if you don't have a lot of real estate or you hope to progress, don't limit yourself to a machine with handles. You'll feel boxed in the type of exercises you can do long term. Trust me. So again, we were just doing some very simple calf raises. If you're feeling comfortable to continue standing and you've joined me today, we could add some upper body, some twists, maybe get some arm flow. Again, the more that we can do while we're standing on the plate, the more lymph we're going to move. If you're feeling the balance is okay, I showed you how to use the gun while you were seated. You could also work on the arms, the torso, any of these combinations, whether you're sitting, whether you're standing, if you're just working on strength and fatigue, you're just starting to regain function, a movement, the amount of movement that a vibration plate subjects your body to in a short period, I want you to be aware of, because you're increasing a lot of circulation, a lot of lymph, and you get energized. You get off this thing and it's like you've taken a happy pill. But I don't want you doing a whole lot extra. It's really common with new users, and because I deal with so many that have compromised lymph, there's two things that I want you to be mindful of, and they're usually associated to overdoing it. So overdoing it means going too long, too wide with your feet perhaps, and in my opinion, too slow of a speed. The very choppy, very wobbly speeds aren't always the best starting out, especially if you're dealing with chronic symptoms. So bring the feet closer, bring the speed up a little bit. Try a short 2 to 3 minutes to start. See how you feel. If you do have energy, please don't go clean the house and mow the lawn and do a whole bunch of things just because you feel that you can. You'll pay for it later. Give it about a month for the feel good, the energy, whatever that you feel you're receiving from this before you start taking on more activity. Some also, if you have a lot of toxicity in your system, you've been on a lot of medications, perhaps you've gone through some treatment. It's not uncommon to feel a little bit nauseous when you first start out. That is also related to overdoing it, or sometimes it's related to your positioning. So if you're standing too tall, many of you like to get all the shake in this area thinking it's going to shake all the lumps and the bumps away. But again, if you've got a lot of toxicity going on in your system, maybe you haven't eaten enough, maybe the nutrition hasn't been there, you've got a lot of lymph going, and it also contributes to detoxification. So give your body what it needs to support that activity, proper nutrition, hydration, rest. But overdoing it, sometimes you feel a little nauseous or a little bit upset in the tummy, and we think, oh, it's all the lymph that I moved. That is part of it, but maybe we don't need to move so much right away. Be conservative in your time. I would rather you do more multiple sessions that are shorter than one big long one, especially if you're dealing with compromised areas in your body. So a good starting point, as I said, just for those of you that might be joining me, keep the feet closer. I want those speeds in a mid-range. Seated, 3 to 5 minutes is quite comfortable. If you are beginning to stand, standing is going to give you more weight bearing. It's going to be better for strength, the bones, those other long-term type of effects. But it is a little bit more activation of your lymphatic system. So just be mindful. Maybe try a couple 3 minutes, see how you feel, or do a combination of seated and standing just for the lymph if that's what you're looking to do. If you're going to do other treatments, perhaps you're going for some manual lymphatic drainage, you're going to hit the pool or the gym, all the more reason to keep it brief. We have a tendency when we get into a new routine to overdo everything. I'm going to join the gym and I'm going to use my vibration plate and I'm going to go on a diet. And then, if something works great, awesome. But if you have a setback, then what was it? What do we tweak and modify from there? So don't overwhelm yourself. Start one thing at a time, stick with it for a while, get into your groove before adding other therapies. So now I want to go to questions. Hello, Melinda. How are you? What is the best way to get thighs and pelvic area? Standing preferred. If you can activate the muscles in the thighs and the glutes with a slight squat, maybe some really slow dynamic squats, that's a great way to target those areas. If range of motion allows, and I'm going to be covering some of this more tomorrow, part 2 tomorrow is going to target those of you that have more range of motion, the ability to get down on the ground. You could absolutely sit down on the machine and do more of a direct massage application, 1 to 2 minutes per position. But I always like to do a little bit of standing first. For those of you with mobility issues, it's never the getting down, it's the getting back up. That's always a bit of a challenge. So a couple of standing pelvic tilts, a couple squats, and anything like that that's going to engage those muscle groups is going to add to the equation, Melinda. And using it more frequently if you are dealing with chronic issues is another great tip. So, use it in the morning when you get out of bed, and use it at the end of the day if that's all that your time can allow. If you're at home or you have a machine at the office with you, let your body tell you, when you start seeing an increase in swelling, maybe your neuropathy starts kicking in. There's usually some symptoms or some tips that your body presents to you, and listen to your body. If symptoms are presenting, address them while they're minor. Don't let them build and build and build. If you don't have access to your vibration plate during the day, stand up, walk around in circles for, 5-6 laps just to get things moving and break up the sitting until you can get home to your machine. So lymph is kind of an easy one. It's always ever present and increased when you're using your vibration plate, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's always best to go longer and longer, especially if you're just starting out. If you've been using your plate for quite some time and you're kind of set in your settings and your positions, the body can also become accustomed to what we're doing. And you get into this period of where you're maintaining more than you're progressing. So if you've been doing the same moves, same settings for a long time, an easy way to break it up. I'm kind of a creature of habit. I like my moves. I stick with my moves, but mix up the settings, change your foot position a little bit, add movement or don't move, do something different, tweak those positions slightly just to keep the body guessing and progressing forward, if that makes sense. If you are coming to me from one of the other groups, I'm not getting all of the questions right away. Sometimes they're not all showing up in the live stream from all places. So if I've missed a question today, my sincere apologies. If you have a question and you're watching this on the recorded basis, just message me or tag me at Debbie with a Y. And sometimes when the convo gets going, it gets lost in the comments there. So I just want to make sure that I'm mindful and get back to you if you do have a question on a recorded basis. If you've watched this and there's something that you'd like to ask me, please take advantage of that function. And for those of you that are watching me for the first time and going, oh my goodness, this is great, I should be using this for my lymph. I've done several sessions, as has Amber, as has Roseanne. There's a big fancy search function in this group. So if there's anything specific that you're looking for, today is lymph. Maybe you want to work on your core, or maybe you want to work on varicose veins. There's all kinds of different ways to benefit from using your plate. Take advantage of that search function and you'll find lots of different sessions from each of us. Tomorrow, if you've got the time, I invite you to join me for part 2. It's going to be a little bit more intermediate type positions. We're going to do a couple more fitness positions, and we're going to get down on the ground and do some massage. Lymph is a very simple side benefit to using a vibration plate. It's on you to use it consistently. That really is the secret in improving your lymphatic system using your vibration plate. Use it regularly and use it when your body tells you it needs to. I hope that makes sense, Melinda. Thank you for the explanation. She says, we sometimes get stuck in our own head creativity wise. So think outside the box. You're only limited by your imagination and your range of motion. If you've got specific exercises that your lymphatic therapist or your doctor would like you to be doing, perhaps some stretches, those are perfect examples of things you could be doing on the plate. The movement that the plate creates, the environment you're doing those positions in, simply ramps up the lymph and gives you more benefit than had you been doing on the floor. What can I do to help my varicose veins, please? You can do a search. Today isn't about varicose veins, and I could talk forever about that, but I do want you to be conservative. If they're severe, Jillian, You don't, just like lymph, you don't want a ton of blood flow right off the bat. You can massage those areas directly, but any exercises that engage those areas, calf raises, squats, step ups, those type of things. But consistency is the key. You can absolutely help improve not only the circulation, but the sensitivities and the appearance of varicose veins. I have the worst ones ever. You probably can't see them on camera. If I'm not using my plate, oh, they ache. They look nastier than they do if I'm not using the plate. I certainly know when I haven't been consistent. So regular use is really the key. With your varicose veins, be cautious on times and intensity just until you get a feel. I'm not sure what your sensitivities may be. And progress accordingly. Don't, just because you had a good first 2 sessions, don't go from 5 minutes to 10 3 times a day just because you fared okay. Give it about a week or 2 before you really start extending times or intensity, just to make sure your body's got a good handle on it and things are assimilated and ready for you to progress. I hope that makes sense. And keep it simple. A lot of times, if you're doing all these exotic moves, guys, it's just, it looks like work and it's demotivating. Lymph is absolutely a vital function that our body sometimes needs help with. So keep it simple, keep it something that you enjoy to do. And I think you'll find the consistency piece a lot easier to manage. Thanks for joining me. Talk soon and join me tomorrow, same time, same place for part 2.